Okay, this is Jessica Perez-Beebe. You are here inside of High Performer Lifestyle inside of Facebook, or you are watching on the replay on YouTube. As you jump on, hi Isidro. As you jump on, please say hi. Let me know that you're here. Say hello, introduce yourself. I know we have a lot of new people in the group, and I want to welcome you. I'm really excited to talk about this topic. It's one of my favorite topics. It's actually been coming up a ton with clients and with people just reaching out to me for support and advice. Me and my assistant were just talking about this as well. And actually, somebody just messaged me on Instagram Messenger about this, and you guys voted for this topic today. So I'm excited to dive in with you. I'm just closing a couple of things here, and we're going to get started. So, hey, Mike, good to see you here. Jahaira. Okay, awesome. I love seeing new faces. Listen, one of the things I'm going to ask you as we get started is engage with me. I need to know what's resonating with you. I need to know what's most supportive to you because listen, the truth is I want to give you content that is actually helping you, that's making a difference for you. So if you don't engage, I assume that it's not making a difference for you. So please connect with me throughout this. Let me know if something makes sense, ask questions, and keep this very open-ended. So what we're going to talk about today is how to manage your feelings. How do you manage your feelings so that your feelings don't manage you, so that they don't control you, right? So that they don't derail you, they don't stall you, they don't pull you off course and have you lose focus and lose control of whatever it is that you are aspiring to, right? How do you get a handle on your emotions? So I often talk about managing your mind, right? That is one of the main things that I teach. I actually teach my proven pro mindset method to my clients. But here's what you might not know. What's inherent about my mindset method that I teach is that you can only actually master your mind, manage your mind and your mindset as a result of managing your emotions. And you're going to see what I mean when I get to the how-to of this, because I have very specific do now in the moment when you notice that your emotions are sending you in a place that you don't want to go. Okay, so because here's the truth, our emotions are there for a reason, right? They are signals to us. They are letting us know what we're reacting to, what we're putting our focus and our attention on, and what is taking up most of our attention, right? And so they're there for a reason. Our emotions are good. It doesn't mean managing your emotions and not letting them control you doesn't mean that you don't feel them. It doesn't mean you don't experience your emotions. That is important. And also what I want to say, I want to make a clear distinction. Let me know if you hear this distinction because this is really important. Not letting your emotions manage you is not the same thing as letting your intuition manage you. Intuition and emotions are different. Do you guys get that? I want to make sure you understand that, right? So there's a difference between being centered, being clear enough, quiet enough, focused enough without distractions of the outside world, of everybody else's opinion, of all these different distractions. That is when you're able to tap into intuition. Okay, and intuition and preparation and all of that, that's a very valuable skill set that all pro athletes, that all your top successful entrepreneurs have in life. And that's what we're talking about here, because I often work with entrepreneurs who are really successful, people who've been successful in their life, who are driven, who are typically the ones that are motivating everybody else. You're typically the most driven one in your environment. And so you being able to be inspired by and held to a higher standard by others who are even bigger thinkers, that's the people that I work with. So what I'm saying about this is that is a skill that those people end up learning with me, right? That is not the same thing as being ruled by your emotions. Make sure that you understand that, okay? So I want to say a couple things about this. So I got a message. Actually, I'm going to read it. I'm going to pull it up here in my Instagram. So I got a message from someone on Instagram. It says, "I really enjoyed your talk," and so this was something on Instagram. It's clear to me, and then he says, um, my question to you is, how do you avoid becoming a victim to your feelings? Do any of you here ever feel like you become a victim to your feelings? Right? I feel betrayed. I feel hurt. I feel afraid, right? Like maybe things are breaking down in your personal life, your family, maybe in business, maybe in your career. And the feelings that you have, the emotions, whether it's fear, whether it's sadness, whether it's anger, you feel like it's actually taking over. And the way you know it's taking over is if you've started to put things on hold that you know are important to you, if you've started to miss commitments that you've made to yourself and to other people, right? You start to pull back, you start to hibernate or alienate, right? You start to veg out in front of the TV, you start to self destruct. Maybe you're drinking too much, you're overeating, whatever it is for you. That's how you will know that you're letting your emotions rule you. You're letting them shut you down, or you're eating your emotions, you're drinking your emotions, whatever it is, right? So this is what this person was basically saying to me, that he gets intellectually what I was talking about. And you might be feeling this too. Let me know if you are. But what happens to him is when things are going great, he can apply it all. But when something happens, he gets caught up in his feelings. He gets caught up in his emotions. And he said, I become a victim of my emotions. And that's a really important point that he made, because that is essentially what we would be allowing ourselves, or you are allowing yourself to be in that moment. You're allowing yourself to be a victim of your emotions. And I'm going to show you how the emotion is a result of what you're focusing on, right? So, and that means it's a result of outside circumstances. So if you are someone who knows, like, I've got so much more inside of me, and maybe even on the outside, you look like you're operating at a 10 to most people, because the average person, I mean, I hate to say it, they set the bar very low. Most people are not driven. They are not pursuing excellence. They are not aspiring to this kind of pro mindset, this high performer lifestyle. And that's okay. I'm not really here to talk to those people. I'm here to talk to you. So if you know that you've got more inside of you, but there's just something holding you back, or you've kind of hit a plateau, or you're just like feeling like I just need to get on my edge again. Something is holding me back. And you feel, now this is what's important. You feel that if I could just identify, if I could just get connected with that next level, then I know I can break out of this and I can actually be the 10 that I'm meant to be. If that's you, then right now you probably are hooked into some type of emotion that is slowing you down. Okay, and this is exactly what this person was messaging me about. So what I said to him is, what I know for sure from my trainings, from my teachings, from doing this work for a couple of decades, and from just seeing it with high performers and even seeing it in my own life. And what I'm going to share with you is going to break it down very specifically, but just listen to this piece. We actually choose our feelings. Now, I know that can feel controversial, and it might trigger you, and you might feel like, no way, I don't trigger, or I don't choose being sad. I don't choose being depressed. I don't choose, being angry. But the truth is, you do choose it. Choose our emotions and our feelings. We actually choose them based upon what we are focusing on. And this is something that I teach in my mindset method in a graphic that I've created, and it's called the tricky triad. Okay, and actually, Tony Robbins teaches something very similar. I'm certified and took an extensive training under Tony Robbins, and he teaches the fact that we go to our emotions, right? We go to them based on what we're focused on, right? So if you're depressed, right, think about it. There is a body language that goes with that, the slumping of the shoulders. There's a different tone in your voice, right? All of that. Like you're actually going physically to that emotion, right? You can't actually feel joyful and excited and hopeful and all of that when you are in that kind of state of, depressed body and depressed tone of voice, right? And so what I talk about in my tricky triad is how you can actually shift it. So, are you guys with me so far? What you are thinking about on a regular basis, not just fleeting thoughts, but what the thoughts that you actually choose to hang on to. Oh, this is hard, or oh my gosh, my mom is sick. My marriage is failing. I'm not making enough money. Whatever thought you were grabbing onto and letting it ruminate and stir and stew and cook inside of your mind, that actually starts this cycle that I call the tricky triad. What you think about regularly becomes what you start to believe, right? You start to believe this is the only way, or you start to believe that what you're thinking is true. That's a decision, right? You don't actually have to hook into that thought and accept it as truth. You could shift that thought and think about something else. You could deny that thought. You could, one of the things that I teach people to do to interrupt thought patterns that aren't serving you is something called 2-for-1. For every thought that you come up with that is negative or detrimental to you, or every reason that you tell yourself you can't do something, I say stop and come up with 2 reasons to the contrary, right? So the reason I'm telling you that piece is so you have the choice to change that thought or interrupt it. But once you decide to go deep with it, you invest in that thought, it starts to become what we call a belief. Okay, so you create your belief based on what you've been focused on in your thoughts. Then you back up your belief with your language. You start to talk about it. You start to speak life into it. You start to affirm it. You start to talk to other people who also share that belief because they share that thought. And so you guys start to like reaffirm this. That's why it's so important who you allow to influence your mind. It's so important who you spend the majority of your time talking to, who your circles are, right? So you've got your thought that is developed into your belief. You start to reinforce it with languaging, and guess what happens in the middle of all that is what starts to produce your feelings. Your feelings come as a result of what you think and believe, and therefore start to give life to with your languaging, right? And that's why you can see in any given area of life or on any subject, people can argue vehemently for their side, especially when they gather other people who also believe that, and they're generating emotions based off that, right? Like everybody can create or find evidence to support what it is they believe. So here's the key. When you change what you focus on, you actually change your emotions too. Now, how freeing is that? Think about that. If I want to change my emotion from depressed to hopeful, from angry to whatever the next thing is, right? Maybe just satisfied or something like that, right? Like you can just move up the emotional scale. If you want to change your emotion from desperate, from feeling like I'm failing, or from fear, you've got to first change what you're thinking about, okay? And then the other piece of this that I really want to drill in is the languaging that he used about being a victim. This is what happens to us when we let our emotions manage our day. You know, like, shit, that didn't go my way, so just forget it. I'm not going to do anything. That's allowing your emotions to run your day. You are not a victim unless you want to be, right? So you need to get out of your own way. And getting out of your own way starts with realizing that you're only a victim of your thoughts, words, and actions. So nothing happens to you. Yes, people do stuff. Yes, people disappoint us. Yes, people die. Yes, things happen, right? I talked about like a couple lives ago, the fact that we aren't just entitled to things always being great, right? There is suffering in life. There is challenge, but how do you use it? That's the difference between a high performer. That's the difference between the legends in any kind of business, in any kind of sport, right? You get to create your experience. So once you start to take personal responsibility for everything in your life, including your emotions, right? Once you start to do that, you start to realize that, okay, these emotions are there. I can use them for good or I can use them for negative, right? And once you realize that you have that control, you just need to start with changing your thoughts. Just start by changing your thoughts. That will start to shift your emotions, which will then generate the actions that you take, right? So once you start to abandon your victim mentality and you become, victorious, that's when you start to be the victor, not the victim. Does that make sense? I want to read to you something also from the book Relentless. If you are somebody who's driven to create something really meaningful in your life, you know that you want to grow, you're driven by growth. The people that I work with, they go through an assessment, and we only invite people into our high performers club that are driven by growth or contribution, right? So, because those are the people that are always hungry for more, right? Like you're always going to be pursuing getting better. And listen, if you want to get better in your life, if you don't want to just settle for average, then these are the things that you really got to get a handle on. Your emotions cannot run you. Okay, so I'm looking for this piece that I want to share with you. When all hell breaks loose on the outside, you barely notice. You're calm on the inside because you're ready, prepared, and the best at what you do. You don't tell anyone how you're going to handle a situation, you just handle it. Everyone else is panicking and choking, and you say, no problem. You finish the fight. You do what you have to do, and you finish the fight. That is the mentality of someone, and he's talking specifically about being out on the court, right? But that applies to everything that you do in life. It applies to everything that you do in life. Because if you allow yourself to be dictated and be in reactionary mode by everything that's going on around you, you will never move forward. You will never get to where you want to be, right? I can go down a list of just huge things that have happened in my life. I'm sure you have too, right? My mom was killed in a car accident when she was 45. I became a mother overnight to my niece, literally overnight with no preparation, my 3-year-old niece at the time. Just recently, my brother just left rehab that I'm paying for, and he has the likelihood to have an overdose right now and die if he uses, right? The reason I share that with you is all of us, myself included, every single person that you see and perhaps aspire to a way of life that they're living, all of us have these things that are going on in our life. But those of us who know how to use our emotions to fuel into something positive, to fuel into getting out there and creating something no matter what's happening, right? No matter what kind of pains or disappointments, like we see the bigger picture. We see that this is all part of life and that no matter what's thrown at us, we're not going to get derailed from what's in our heart, from our ministry, from our mission in life, right? It's easy. I'll tell you the truth. It's easier to just crawl up in bed, pull the covers over your head, but the result that you get is so much more painful, right? Like what it costs you to take the easy way out in the long run. And this is why you got to stop thinking about the immediate gratification. You got to think about the big picture. What it cost you in the long run to hide, to be a lone wolf, to try to do it on your own, to get pissed off, to shut down, to say, I can't do it. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to stay in bed. I'm going to do like all of that is the easy choice right now, but it's a bigger price to pay. It's a bigger price to pay. So I hope that this served you with how do I manage my emotions? Number one, you just got to take responsibility for them. Nobody else is responsible for your emotions. Not your coach, not your spouse, not your children, not a therapist, nobody. Only you are responsible for your emotions, and therefore only you can actually change them. So interrupt. If you don't want to be in that place of allowing your emotions to constantly manage you, right? Then you've got to interrupt that, shift what you're focusing on, and listen. You got to get around people who will not sell out on you. So many people in life will sell out on you. They'll say, oh, you're entitled to feel, like a victim. You're entitled to just not do anything. Most people will say to you, if you're driven like me, they'll say, you've already done enough, right? They don't understand the inherent drive that God put in you to get out and live life fully, right? And so if you've got that, if you've got that inside of you, you've got to make sure you're in a community with other people who understand, who are actually setting big goals in their life, who are not letting themselves sell out, and will help hold you accountable. Because as long as you're a victim to your emotions, you're going to be here when you know you could be here. So I said something about an assessment earlier. If you want to take this assessment, send me a private message and I will send it to you, and you can see what you're inherently motivated by, what you're intrinsically motivated by. It's your secret motivator. There are 6 of them. All of us are motivated by one more than the other, and it will give you so much insight into your life and really on what to focus on. I hope this was supportive. As you're watching the replay, continue to comment, ask questions, and myself and Emma will come through and answer any of your questions. Okay, guys, look for me on my Facebook page on Friday, and then I'll see you back here live next Wednesday. Bye.